What's up, everybody? It's your cosmic homegirl, and I'm back with another public figure celeb chart reading. So this time, I'm just gonna do a little voiceover one, and I'm going to be reading the chart of a YouTuber. You guys already know that I really love YouTubers that are ones that do videos on beauty, on fashion, on makeup, on hair. I'm really into that. I have a lot of Venus energy in my own chart. And so, Venus is the planet of beauty and everything. So I am totally into the beauty YouTube world. And I observe people from an astrological point of view. For those who are new, who do not know, I am an intuitive astrologer. I read what you see on the screen here, which is someone's natal chart. Okay, that means that it's a map of the cosmos at the exact moment that someone was born. So, when we look at people from an astrological point of view, it isn't just their sun sign. We look at the rising, we look at all the planets, and the moon and the aspects, the angles, and all that stuff. Now I'm going to be reading Patrick Starr's chart. I love Patrick Starr. He is such a cool YouTuber. He's been on YouTube, I believe, for about 5 years. The earliest video that I can find of his was from 2013. So if he had anything before that, maybe it's been erased, I don't know. But so I'm going to say for about 5 years. But Patrick Starr has been a photographer. He's been in theater. He's a very, very creative person besides being a YouTuber. So he's been a makeup artist. He still is a makeup artist. And that's mostly what his videos are about, are makeup tutorials, and some travel vlogs too, which I'll get into the reason why that is as well. So I asked Mama Starr for Patrick Starr's birth time on Twitter, and she did respond to me and give me his exact birth time. She was very kind enough to do so. Mama Starr, who is Patrick Starr's mom, obviously, she is one of the kindest, sweetest, cutest ladies there is. Oh my gosh, she's so adorable. You guys should follow her on Instagram. She's always smiling, and I just love her accent. Oh my gosh, I love accents. So she's got a really cute one. And she was very kind and did give me Patrick's birth time. Okay, so that's where my source is from. So we have Patrick's birth date, November 11th, 1989. We have the time given by Mama Starr, and he was born in Orlando, Florida. So this is how we were able to calculate this whole little circular map here. So without further ado, what does all of this mean about him? How does it tell us who he is? Okay, so first of all, I'm sure you guys already know Patrick is a Scorpio by the sun. The sun was in Scorpio the day he was born. He talks about being a Scorpio all the time, so he totally acknowledges that part of his personality, that part of his energy. Now, Patrick is an uber Scorpio, you guys. A lot of times people will have maybe only the sun in a particular sign, and then other planets, that contribute to their personality traits as well, all scattered around in other signs. So therefore, it's hard for them to relate to their sun sign. Most people only know about their sun sign. So, if Patrick didn't have all these other planets in Scorpio, he could be the type of person that would read up on Scorpio and say, that doesn't sound anything like me. Why do I not resonate with the whole description, general description of Scorpio? You know what I'm saying? But he has a sun here. So this is his personality radiating through the energy of Scorpio. He also has Mercury, which is the planet of communication in the sign of Scorpio as well, right next to the sun. He has Pluto, the planet that rules Scorpio, next to the sun, and it's in the sign of Scorpio. So that's like uberly Scorpio. And he has Mars, which rules how someone takes action in life, how they express their anger or their aggression, how they get things done, how they take initiative to do stuff, is Mars. And he has that also in Scorpio. So he's like uber Scorpio. So so he definitely resonates with his Scorpio energy. Now, I always got these vibes from Patrick, like, oh my gosh, he must have Gemini energy somewhere, or he must have a really strong Mercury placement. Mercury is the planet that rules Gemini and gives Gemini its characteristics. He's very witty, he's very funny, and he's quick-witted, you know, and he's got a great sense of humor, at least in my opinion. I like his sense of humor. So he has Mercury in a conjunction with the sun, and what this means is the sun is, once again, you know, it's what you consciously radiate out there to the world. And if there are any planets next to it, you're going to radiate that energy out there too. So Mercury is the ruling planet of Gemini, and he has it conjunct the sun. So, you know, this is why there's mercurial, as we call it, energy that is exuded from him, which gives him that quick-witted, funny type of energy in his personality. And he talks pretty fast too. And, you know, Mercury rules how you speak. And so a lot of sun conjunct Mercury people, they do talk fast, or they give off like a Gemini-esque type of a vibe. So that's where that comes from. And he has the sun conjunct Pluto, and Pluto is a planet of intensity. You know, it's a planet of intensity. And so he does have an intensity to his personality. But the good thing is, you know, he's got this Mercury energy here that kind of makes it not as intense as it would be. He's got a little more lighthearted energy elsewhere that kind of cancels out, you know, it waters down the energy of Pluto, you know, because Pluto rules like the darker side of life and things that are not so cute in life, you know. The gutter, you know, is Pluto, like the darkest of the dark entities of the world. And I'm not saying it makes everybody evil. Some people may act out in evil ways if they have the sun conjunct Pluto, but not everybody. But it's an awareness. It can give an awareness of all of that stuff, you know, and therefore a lot of sun conjunct Pluto people, they have such a keen awareness of the darker side of life that they kind of dwell and wallow in that, you know. But as far as what Patrick Starr really gives us, you know, to the public, radiates out here to us, we don't really see too much of that, you know, and I'll explain further to show you guys why. So, what else is going on in Patrick's chart? So he has his ascendant. That's what the AC abbreviates, ascendant, or rising. We call it the rising sign. This is the sign that was on the eastern horizon at this time of birth. Okay, so, you know, when that time of birth was recorded, you know, his little bum was spanked. Wham! You know, okay, this is what was on the horizon at that time. And this rules your first impression that you give off to other people. So it's a really huge part of your personality. And it also can show a lot of things about your physical appearance too, okay? Now, I always sense that Patrick had some kind of like a strong like Sagittarius-like vibe to his energy even before I got his birth time. And I was like, he may have something with, you know, Jupiter, the ruling planet of Sagittarius, somewhere strong or something like that. He has Jupiter in a great aspect to the sun, you know, so that can give off like a Sag-like vibe since Jupiter rules Sagittarius, you know. But he is a Sag rising. So the first impression that people get of Patrick Starr is Sagittarius. Sag energy, you know, when they're vibrating on the positive side of Sag, you know, the lighter side of Sagittarius, are very happy-go-lucky people. They're all about inspiring others and spreading joy and positivity and all that stuff. So this is how he appears to people, you know, is Sagittarian. And also Sag is another energy that is heavily associated with having a sense of humor. Okay, and I know some people will be like, but I know a Sag that doesn't have humor, or I'm not a Sag but I have a sense of humor. Once again, I feel like I have to explain this in like every video or every like whatever I talk about astrology. Like I always have to explain this, but we're talking about just the energy of Sagittarius. You can have other influences that kind of water, you know, some energies down, and there's many different factors that can make things a little different for you personally. But the energy of Sag, yeah, is very humorous too, and looks at life from the bright side, you know, the side of optimistic points of view, and you can do anything you want and go after your dreams and all that stuff. So that's why he gives that off, you know, encourages people to go after their dreams. Sag is an energy of beliefs and faith, and a lot of people with this energy, they have a lot of faith and belief in a brighter day and things will work out, you know, and they love to surround themselves with positive people. Sag energy people are some of the main ones that'll tell you all the time, I don't like being around negative people. I don't like negative Nancys. You know, they want everything to be awesome all the time. You know, that song from the Lego movie, Everything is Awesome. I'm like, yo, that is a Sag theme song right there. Everything is awesome. Some other Sag common things that they say is live in the moment. Okay, live in the moment is a total Sag thing. And you know, they, like I said, they inspire people to go after their goals and their dreams because they are the sign of big goals. Okay. So Sagittarius rising is what gives him that part of his personality. Now look at, he's got like a cluster of planets right here in the first house. Now the first house, okay, it's covered up by a couple of lines, but the first house, this is your first impression. Like I said, that people get of you, the energy that you radiate, you know, off of you very strongly is seen also through if there are any planets in this house. So with that being said, what does it mean to have this planet here? Uranus, whatever, the same thing. This little space alien station, spaceship thing. What does it mean to have this here in the place of your personality, your first impression? Well, this planet, it does rule uniqueness and eccentricity and doing things that are very out of the ordinary, going against the norm, going against societal expectations of you, not wanting to fit into a box, wanting to be unique and just do things that are according to you to the core, you know, not being conditioned by other people on who you should be and what you should be doing. It's rebellion. It's rebelling against all of that. So he has Uranus here in the first house, and that is, you know, that makes him express that energy very strongly. And, you know, also he has Uranus in a conjunction with Venus. Venus is a planet of love and beauty and all that stuff, and expression of femininity and vanity, you know, it rules all of that. So he has that here in the first house. So, you know, Venus in the first house people, a lot of them are very attractive, or they're always on a mission to look attractive, or they're really into their looks and to beauty and fashion some kind of way. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. If you have this planet here in this house, you're into your looks, okay? And always trying to make sure you look fly, you look good, okay? So that's Venus here in the first house. And the fact that he has Venus in a conjunction with Uranus, that makes his style, Venus can rule your style. His style is very unique, you know? He has a unique look to him. He wears a turban. I mean, there's not really too many other men, you know, born a man, people who are makeup artists that have the same exact style as him, that wear a turban and all that stuff, you know. And people that have a significant Uranus placement in their chart, they tend to want to be the pioneers of things, like the innovators of things, and create new and exciting things that have never been done before. And you know, they like to keep their uniqueness. They don't really like to go along with like the trends and the crowds all the time. They like to try to pave their own way. So he has Venus in a conjunction with here. Now he has Saturn in the first house too. Saturn is this symbol here, and it represents like restriction and discipline. Okay, so having Saturn in the first, it does give him, you know, a great business sense. Being a businessman, being somebody who always works one way or the other, works very hard, has a great work ethic. Saturn in the first house people, a lot of times that's them, you know. And he said that he's he was a photographer, and it sounds to me like from what he described of his earlier years that he's always been putting himself to work some kind of way, putting his creativity. Venus can rule creativity, and excuse me, Saturn can rule work and business. So creativity put to work right here. Now He also has Neptune here in the first house, and Neptune rules the arts. It rules photography, which it was a photographer. It rules cinematography or filmography or video. And what does he do? He does a lot of video stuff. He's very creative. And it rules music. And I know he plays the piano as well. People who have Neptune in the first house, they tend to be super creative. I mean, things that are like art related just come so natural and simple to them. And so yeah, he has Neptune here in the first house. So Neptune is a big part of his personality as well. So this whole combination of planets all together right here, they all work together to make him a great artist, all around artist. Okay. Now, looking at, let's see. Now, for those who are a little bit more advanced in astrology and what this means, you'll know what this means. If you don't, I'm sorry, but feel free to drop some questions below or email me questions or whatever. But in astrology, there are two different systems. I mean, there's several different ways to view a chart, like so many, like countless ways to view a chart. Okay, this is the most common and one of the most simplest ways, and it's a system, and all the systems have names. Okay, so I used the Placidus, which is the most common, and I also use whole sign, which takes a look at the chart from a different perspective, but it still does apply at the same time. It's not like one way is better or more right than the other, at least not in my experience, in my practice. Okay, so this is taking a look at the chart from, it's like it kind of makes things a little bit more equal in the chart, based on the sign alone. Like his ascendant, the first sign in his chart, it starts with Sagittarius, right? So it just goes in order, in perfect order. Sag is first, Capricorn is second, and so on, like in perfect order. Okay, so looking at it from this perspective, all that cluster of planets he has in Capricorn move to the second sign or the second house. Now, what does this part of the pie, the pizza pie here, what does it mean? What does it represent? Well, this is the area of the chart that rules how you make your money and also how you handle your money, and just to keep it simple as I can possibly make it as a big nerd, having all of these planets right here in the house of how you make your money, it means he can make his money. It's best that he makes his money through creative efforts. Okay, and that's exactly what he's doing. Look at here. Uranus, it rules the internet, social media, reaching the masses. Okay, and that's what he does, and he makes a living. So awesome. Venus, it rules creativity, beauty, art, to a degree. And so he makes money off of that. Yes, he does. Okay, he does that as a business. Saturn, hard work, discipline, business. Owning your own business is associated with Saturn sometimes too. So isn't that what he does? He's self-employed from what I know. Or he pretty much is like an independent, well, compared to people that work a 9 to 5, he's independent. Okay. And also Neptune, it rules photography, video, arts, you know what I'm saying? And Neptune and Venus are associated with makeup. Venus is, enhancement of your beauty, and it's just a focus on beauty and vanity in general. And the material items that you use for beautifying yourself are associated with Venus, the physical things in front of you that are associated with beauty. And Neptune, it rules the illusion and the fantasy of beauty, like creating different looks. Like he does a lot of those. He does a lot of fantasy looks, like Cinderella, and I don't know, like he's done like Disney princess looks and stuff like that. So all that fantasy stuff is associated with Neptune. So that's all here in the house of how you make your money. Okay, so he's on track. He's on track with his life purpose here. So that's pretty cool. And it also shifts all his Scorpio planets to the 12th house. Okay, a chart is divided into 12, we call it houses. Okay, And the very last one is the 12th one. And this is an area, people who have planets here, they tend to be more private people. They can be introverted extroverts, pretty much. So, you know, Sagittarius is a fire sign, which is generally, Sag in itself is very extroverted. The fire element is extroverted. The water element is introverted. And you know, the water houses in the chart, which are 4th, 8th, and 12th. If you have planets there, you can tend to be a little bit more of a private person. So you got a mixture of things going on here, right? That's why, like I've been saying, you have to look at more than just the sun. Everything else paints a really the big picture. So he's an introverted extrovert. And I know some people may have some things to say about this, and really it's your opinion, whatever, I don't care. But some people have reported having experiences meeting him, and they said it wasn't what they expected. You know, that on camera he seems to be very outgoing, but in person it's a different story. Well, this could be why, okay, is because Scorpio energy in itself is more private, and having planets in the 12th house it makes someone kind of shy sometimes, you know, because it's hidden energy. And especially if the sun is here, the sun naturally, it wants to shine out into the world, like show everything to everyone, and be a guiding light for people. But when it's in this 12th house, it's kind of like it's dunked underwater, and it's, you know, it has a tendency to fizzle out. And also people who have their sun in the 12th house and Mercury in the 12th house, they tend to have their energy drained very easily, physically, and also like just, you know, spiritually. If they're around too many people for too long, then it's like they can really take in other people's energy so easily. Like they're like a sponge, you know what I'm saying? People who have planets in the 12th house, or people who have Pisces planets, Pisces energy, you know, that's how they can be. Or people who have Neptune in a very prominent place in their chart. And if we go back to the other chart, you can see he has Neptune in the 1st house. So, you know, Neptunians, or 12th housers as we say, yeah, they can get drained easily from being around people for way too long. Or if they're in a big crowd, you know, like extroverted introverts, once again, can be in a huge crowd around a bunch of like really cool ass people and everything. But then when they go home, it's like, okay, like they're drained, and they have to maybe have some downtime of like a few days to a week, if they can help it, until they can be back around people again, you know. So anyway, that could be, you know, why some people be like, he wasn't really the same in person. Yo, maybe he was like, I don't know, in a zone or something. 12th housers can like zone out a lot too, just be in their own heads, in their own world a lot. And, you know, maybe that could be why. I don't know. I've never met the guy in person, but I'm sure he's a lovely person, whatever. So, what else can we show about Patrick Starr's chart? Well, let's look at the moon. So he has the moon in Aries. What does that mean? Well, the moon, it shows your family, your mother, how you were nurtured, how you nurture other people. It's how you process emotions, how you handle emotions, how you express your emotions. And so he has the moon in Aries. So Mama Starr must have some feisty energy somewhere too, because the moon also shows what you inherit, like qualities that you can inherit from your mother or your main nurturer in your life, or from your family in general, like how your family is. You know, you can see that through the moon. It's one of a few ways you can see that. So he has a moon in Aries. So yeah, he's actually a little feisty firecracker person too, you know. And this is another thing that makes him an introverted extrovert, is because he has the moon in a fire sign, ascendant in a fire sign, you know. But then he's got like, you know, this 12th house stuff, dunked underwater, emotional, hidden away, you know, private. Then when we switch to the other chart, his moon, it lands in the 4th house. So both actually apply, and I'll explain both techniques. So moon in the fourth, people. Fourth house is also home, family, security. Oh my gosh, go away. Home and family and security and comfort and everything. And so the moon, it represents those same things. So that's kind of like a double of that, you know. So and this is family, and people who have moon in the fourth house, they're very attached to their families. Their families tend to roll deep. Okay. A lot of times they do. Or it's just that the person really needs family around. They crave that security because the moon rules the sign of Cancer. Okay, Cancer gets its qualities from the moon, and the fourth house and Cancer, they correspond to one another energetically. Okay, so he does have some Cancerian qualities to him, Cancer-like qualities. So he really does love his Mama Starr. He's very attached to Mama Starr and to his family in general. So, you know, I think he said he employs his family members. I know at least one brother helps him out with all of his his media and stuff like that. What's his name? Oh gosh, Peter. He doesn't go by Peter Starr. I don't think it's hey it's Peter. Yeah, all the brothers are creative actually and artistic. And, so he does make sure that his family's good. You know, he takes care of them. He had some of his MAC collection named after Mama Starr. I think he actually had some colors named after Papa Starr too. So, you know, a fourth house moon is definitely going to represent their roots, where they come from. I think his family still lives in the same city, you know, Orlando. He has a place in LA, I believe, but he still always goes back home to Orlando. And people who have moon in the fourth house, they're very attached to their homeland, their home country, their home city or state. And it's hard for them to let it go. It's hard for them to leave the nest sometimes, you know. So even if they do become independent, move out on their own, they're still very attached to family. And, so that's how he rolls, you know, with the whole family thing. And, looking at his chart from the other perspective, the moon is here in the fifth house. Now, fifth house energy is a lot different, you know, and like I said, both apply at the same time. So he's got that, you know, more private, super family oriented energy, but he also has the fierce, feisty energy of the fifth house. Fifth house energy, it corresponds to the energy of Leo. Okay, it's very much like Leo. So that's where he can get that confidence from, to be able to show off his creativity, is from having a moon in the fifth house. So moon in the fifth house people, they strive to be red carpet ready all the time, as much as they can. And they are really protective over how they look. You know, they just want to be red to go all the time, just looking good, you know, looking fabulous. And they can be a little sassy, you know, little feisty, you know. So, he can have some of that to his personality as well. But this is a house of creativity and confidence, for real, you know, and being very fun and romantic and all that stuff. So he could be like that. So now let's move on to a couple other things I wanted to show you guys. So the North Node, this is very important, and I swear, I know I've been promising everybody that I'm going to do some videos on the North Node and South Node very soon. But pretty much this and this, they are complete polar opposites, like exact, okay? And these are points in a chart that are calculated that rule your karmic destiny. This is where your soul has been in your past. Or if you are a believer in past lives and reincarnation, it's your past life, you know? But I call it like the past of your soul's journey. And this right here, the North Node, this is where your soul is headed, or it's the new mission that your soul is on. It's stuff that's kind of unfamiliar to you, but you know, you got to familiarize yourself with it. You got to get to know and step into that energy gradually throughout your life. And so him having a South Node in Leo is a super creative sign as well, and it's a sign of showmanship and Hollywood and, you know, glam and glitz and glitter and fabulousness, and being very, very, very secure in yourself and your abilities and your looks. So this is where he gets some of that natural fierceness from, is because he's already lived past lifetimes as, maybe he was a fierce Leo type of woman in a past life. You never know. Or he could have been a man. I can't really tell exactly just by looking at this, but he had that energy within his personality. His soul has done Leo things already. And when we are young, we tend to default. These can rule our default settings. We tend to live more through this, So he's had that Leo-like energy from a young age. This is why he's been creative since he was a kid, But now his soul is on a different mission. And it's not saying to not be creative or confident. It's kind of like he has to balance out this, which can be on a negative side. This can rule like negative tendencies that you may have carried over from past incarnations, that you have to let go of the negative but extract the positive. So the negative to let go of are possibly being like pompous, or the negative side of Leo that some Leos, not all, but some can give off more of that energy, which are thinking that people are below them and people are peasants. I'm just the queen or the king of everything in the world. I'm so great. I'm so beautiful. And just looking down your nose at others. Yeah, so that can be a negative thing that maybe in his youth, maybe he could have, internally felt that way or expressed some of that. But once you grow older, the older that you get, the more you start to grow into your North Node. Now, Aquarius is a lot more, I don't want to say it's a lot more humble than Leo, because they can both actually have some similarities with looking down their nose at other people on a negative side. Aquarius tends to have the God complex, which is they know everything, they're so above everyone, all that stuff, so kind of similar to the opposite sign, but just expressed in a different way. But the positives of Aquarius energy, Aquariuses, they do things differently, okay? The ruling planet of Aquarius is the alien spaceship Uranus right here, okay? So everything I explained about Uranus and what that gives to a person's personality, it gives uniqueness and wanting to just go against what everybody else expects, and all that stuff. That's the same applies for Aquarius energy. So this is what mission he's on, an Aquarian mission. And also Aquarius is an energy that is associated with like equality, human beings just kind of realizing that we're all human, we're all here, we're all beings and souls, and we shouldn't always just focus on what separates us, but more like join us together. This is the sign, Aquarius is a sign of the collective. So he's here on a mission to bring people together on a common ground with like a common interest or something, and unite people. That's a big part of his mission. Uranus and Aquarius, they both rule the internet and social media. So he's on a mission to do that stuff, and he's definitely living through that by having a social media platform where everybody can come together and just, they all like makeup, and doesn't matter if you're male or female. That's another thing about Aquarian energy is equality, no matter what your physical body is made of, or looks like. It's recognizing that if you have a common interest, like his is, makeup, fashion, beauty, it doesn't matter what your physical condition or appearance is. You can come on his platform and you can enjoy what he puts out there. He's a man, physical male. Okay. He's a gay male, which, Aquarius energy. And I know people are gonna be like, oh my God, I'm an Aquarius and I'm not gay. This is balderdash. No, I'm not saying all Aquarians are gay. Okay. I'm saying that this is the energy of going against the grain, against the norm, against the traditional, and what society expects you to do. And so therefore we do find in astrology, when we really look at charts, we find people who live quote unquote alternative lifestyles to have Aquarius energy, Uranus energy, and or planets in their 11th house. Okay, they live life differently. So that can include, you know, what they identify as far as their sexuality or whatever. So he's on that mission. He is totally on it, and he's bringing awareness to, you know, men wearing makeup, and it should be absolutely fine for them to do that, is what he is trying to bring to the masses. Okay. And that, you know, anybody can, it doesn't matter if nobody is exactly like him. They don't have to be exactly like him in order to enjoy his work. Okay. So now let's get into a couple of things that I wanted to point out about his success. He does have a video on his channel called My Cinderella Story, I believe. And it is from a few years back, maybe like 3 years ago, to where he explains his journey as far as being a makeup artist and being a man in makeup. So he did work at MAC. I think MAC is the only place that he talked about. I don't know if he talked about Sephora or anything like that, but I think it was pretty much MAC. So he started out wearing makeup outside of theater. He did theater in school, but outside of that, I think he said 2010 is when he started really like wearing makeup or getting into makeup, buying it and stuff. And then in 2011, that's when he applied to work at MAC and started working there. But it was kind of difficult for him at first. Now, this is why. Astrologers, we look at, you see how there are planets in the chart that are black, you know, and they're all inside the circle. So this is the planets when someone was born that makes up them. And then the ones that are out here, the green ones, that's where the planets are at right now. And they all move at their own speed, their own orbit, and they all rule different things and bring different changes to your life at different times. Okay. And they're all always like buzzing energy, you know, to be doing multiple things to your life at the same time and at different times. Okay. So anyway, so what we look at for like times of when someone feels restricted, right? Because he said that at first he worked at MAC, they weren't feeling him being a dude in makeup. They told him to go with a more quote unquote natural look, male look, instead of being completely just free to express himself in a very colorful, beautiful makeup way. So the reason why is because during that time, Saturn, the planet of restriction, I don't have it, I don't have the right date on the screen to show you guys, but at that time, Saturn was in Scorpio. Saturn's energy is like this. Imagine like a really strict dad, a really strict teacher, a strict old grumpy grandpa, okay, who doesn't want to let you go outside. They don't want to let you do anything. They just expect you to do chores all day or just work really hard. And they hardly ever compliment you or reward you. They're just always like, you can do it better. You know, you can always do better. You know, you can't work. You haven't worked hard enough, even though you've worked your behind off. You know what I'm saying? So Saturn's energy can kind of be like that. And whenever there's a transit of Saturn, whenever Saturn is like moving through the same sign as like, you know, your sun, your ascendant, your moon, mostly, it could be a time where you feel restricted and you feel like, oh my gosh, like somebody is playing the role of a drill sergeant in your life, or maybe a few people are playing that role. You know what I mean? So that was the company that he worked at that was making him feel like restricted in expressing himself and his creativity to the fullest. So they were like, you have to tone it down, tone it down. That's total Saturn. Saturn can be like party pooper energy for people that want to be creative. You know, it's like, oh, that's not proper. Like that's the vibe that I get from Saturn. So he's a creative and he felt restricted, right? There was also around that time, and I'm like a super nerd, you guys, so pardon me. I know this is long in detail, but this is how I roll. So around that time, like 2011-ish, 2012, and I think even into 2013, there were eclipses in the signs of Sagittarius and Scorpio. So if you have followed any of my podcasts or listened to any of my other videos, recent ones, I talk about how eclipses can rock your world. They can change your life, like put you on a different path, open different doors for you, even close doors and chapters that need to be closed, you know? So when they happen in your sign, it's like a really crucial time in your life for big change that can sometimes be painful. You know, you got to let go of certain things in order to welcome newness in. So there were eclipses during the time that he worked at Mac, happening in Sagittarius, happening in Scorpio, you know, his rising sign and his sun sign. So with that being said, that was pushing him to change, you know, and open himself up a little bit more to change with his career and his creativity, and to work harder too, because Saturn is not just grumpy grandpa. He is a planet of hard work and rewards, usually at the end of the transit. After it seems like he's whooped your butt for a long time and tortured you, he rewards you with something big, you know, something greater if you've worked hard. So he felt restricted, but you know what? It pushed him to work harder. So he did like a makeup class in New York, and then I don't know, he just started pushing more towards like bigger goals that he set high for himself, and it took a lot of work, but he actually followed through. And then what happened? He was rewarded by, you know, more career advancement. So Saturn has been pushing him to do that. It was in Scorpio for a couple years. It was in Sagittarius for a couple of years. Saturn just barely left Sagittarius like the end of 2017. And other planets that he had supporting him, changing things around in his life and his career, are the planet Uranus, little alien space station dude. So he rules electricity, he rules lightning. And so imagine when one of your personal planets are struck by Uranus, you know, meaning in technical nerd terms, Uranus is transiting through the same sign and over the same degree as one of your personal placements. So Uranus was transiting, has been in Aries actually since 2011. And let me tell you guys, I'm going to be doing more of these charts on YouTubers, and a lot of them have some kind of Aries energy somewhere very strong in their chart. Maybe they're an Aries sun or Aries moon, mostly is what I've seen, the ones that really climb to huge heights in success over the last several years, since 2011, when Uranus entered their sign. Because what happens is Uranus, it zaps you, right, with a buzz of creativity, or with needing change in your life, or sometimes with, you know, being more true to yourself. Okay, so it's been zapping his moon. It's been in the same sign as his moon since 2011. So that's usually when you find YouTubers saying, oh, I just picked up the camera one day and just started filming. I just got the urge to do it. I just got the inspiration from somewheres. And it's usually because of that transit of Uranus. So anyway, so that's what happened. Uranus buzzing the moon. It's like the moon can rule your inner mind. So his inner mind was all about being authentic and being true to himself and expressing it out there, you know. So that's been helping him out over the last few years with climbing to success. And also the other planet is Jupiter. So Jupiter is a planet of abundance, expansion, opportunity, and seeing life from a perspective of opportunity, and whatever I want is mine. I can get it. And it's also a planet of inspiration too, like inspiring other people and being a positive influence on others and stuff like that, right? So I think he said, when was it? So Jupiter was in the sign of Cancer. It was in Cancer when he went off on a trip to LA. I know he described like, oh, I went on a trip to LA. Well, first he did the makeup class, and that was in 2014. And Jupiter was in Cancer in 2014. Now his natal, well, that's what we call it when one of the planets are like in your chart in a certain position and like it stays there, right? We call it your natal. You were born with it. His natal Jupiter is in Cancer. So when transiting Jupiter, you know, when it goes around through the signs. It passes through one sign every year, okay? Like a full year transit through a sign. And then when it comes back around to your Jupiter, it's like the clock striking 12. And you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy though? When I watched his Cinderella story video, he said it's like the clock struck 12. I was like, oh my gosh, like, does he know about astrology or nah? A lot of times people don't, but it's energy that you're receiving and that you're transmitting just by nature. It doesn't matter if you believe in this stuff or not. We are all receiving energy from the luminaries and the planets above us, and we act and react in certain ways based on the energy that we're receiving. So that's just something intuitively that he just kind of sensed, that it's time. He said 2014, that's going to be the year. You know what? I'm going to do this makeup class. I'm going to travel to different cities and stuff like that. And Jupiter rules the sign of travel. Okay, travel and higher opportunities and pushing yourself to further limits and just believing that you can do whatever you want to do and achieve things, So when Jupiter was in Cancer, it definitely brought it. He did the class. He traveled to LA. He did what event? I think he said Fame Expo during his Jupiter return. So it pushed him to travel and to broaden his horizons and expand within his career and within travel. So now skipping ahead a little bit, guys, okay, because I know this is getting like mad long, but Jupiter, then it traveled through the sign of Leo. I think that was like 2015. It was in the sign of Leo, and it was here in his area of the chart that rules travel. So that's when we started seeing a lot more travel vlogs from him. I love his travel vlogs. Because he's entertaining, number one, and number two, he started really up in his game when it came to like getting drones and having his brother assist him with filming and stuff. So the scenery was dope. You know what I'm saying? He's a very visually creative person. So yeah, that's when we started seeing the travel vlogs. And then when Jupiter was in the sign of Virgo, that's like, 2015 to 2016. Now, this up here is the point of a chart that rules your career and your public image and the ultimate highest achievement that you can achieve in your life. So whenever there's planets that transit up here, usually like there's some kind of career focus or breakthrough, or maybe if it's Jupiter rules good luck. It could be like you receive a lucky break, or, this also rules the public image, so the public can see you a lot more. That people who are YouTubers or social media stars or whatever, they tend to have a lot of growth when Jupiter transits the top of their chart. This is the top. This is like everybody can see you, right? So that grows. So that's what we saw, more growth, even more growth, 2015 to 16. And 2017, Jupiter was transiting through here, through Libra. And that is the sign of his 11th house. Now, it's better seen through here that Libra is the 11th sign from Sag. Okay, so Jupiter transiting through here. Now, this is the house of social media and friends and networking with people. So this is when we saw him do the videos where he did Katy Perry's makeup and then he did Kim Kardashian's makeup. That was all the work of Jupiter expanding upon his networks. Okay, so that was pretty dope to see. And let me tell you guys something. There was some controversy last year because, Kim K, she started her makeup line, right? And she is very smart and business savvy, or she has a smart team behind her at least, that knew that beauty gurus on social media they're called influencers, right? For a reason, because they influence people because they're on a platform. It does have to do with the 11th house and with Uranus and Aquarius and all that stuff. But anyway, that's the influence. They help control the waves of the trends and things that are popular in the moment that other people are influenced by. So, Kim K and her team started noticing, wow, look at all the followers these people have and the influence they have on others when it comes to buying makeup. So let's collaborate. Let's collab with some of these people, and maybe they'll want to buy my KKW makeup, right? So that's why she did that. She collaborated with Patrick Starr, let him do her makeup. Now, another YouTuber, Jaclyn Hill, also did the same thing. Kim went on her platform. They did a video with them doing makeup together or something like that. And Jaclyn Hill got a lot of backlash, like, oh, her and Kim didn't vibe very well. They couldn't converse with each other very well. why. And oh, Patrick Starr, you know, he killed it. He did really well with collaborating with Kim, with conversing with her. And this is why. Because Mercury is the planet of communication and conversation. And when you meet people and they have a Mercury, their Mercury is in the same sign as your Mercury, for example, then that's when you can find people that you feel like your conversation flows really well and you guys understand each other. You talk kind of the same, you know. Now, I'm not saying he and Kim Kardashian talk exactly the same, but her Mercury is also in Scorpio. And Mercury can be a planet that can rule friendships too, you know? And so they were able to right away get along pretty well like friends. And I think they did talk about signs in their video. Kim's like, I'm a Libra. He's like, oh, I'm a Scorpio. Oh, yeah, we get along. Haha. But when you look a little further into the other planets, boo boo, you guys both have Mercury in the same sign. So that's why you can vibe pretty well. And Kim also has the Sun conjunct Pluto in her birth chart. So, you know, they had that going on too, maybe in different signs, but it vibrates a very similar energy. So they understood each other pretty well. Now, Jaclyn Hill, on the other hand, her Mercury is in Leo. And Leo and Scorpio, they make a very frustrating angle to one another on the zodiac wheel called a square. And so when you meet somebody whose Mercury squares your Mercury, the conversation is not as easy as a flow. Okay, it's like kind of difficult to get on the same level as one another when conversing. Like Jaclyn has Mercury in Leo, so Leo is fiery, it's loud, it's interrupting, it's like, oh my god, like so exciting and dramatic. Mercury in Scorpio is a little like, yeah, okay, right. They tend to talk a little bit more quieter, unless placed in like another part of their chart that can make it a little louder than usual. But generally speaking, Mercury in Scorpio is a little bit more secretive and quieter and like, just like that. Okay, so that's why Patrick Starr was able to have a better conversation and vibed better with Kim K. But what's coming ahead? What do I see coming up for Patrick Starr? You know, in 2018, he's had, I think, 3 collections of makeup come out with MAC. And that was a huge achievement for him because he used to work at MAC back in the day. And like we already saw, he was restricted. He was told he could not even express all of the colors of the rainbow that he wanted to wear. So it was a really big deal for him to have a collaboration and a collection with them. So we've seen some big things. Now, Jupiter, what does Jupiter bring again? Opportunity, expansion in your life, okay? And when it's in the same sign as your sun, that can really bring some big opportunities too. So Jupiter in Scorpio has brought him that MAC collection and everything. And when Jupiter is in the sign of your ascendant, okay, that can also be a time where people see you a lot more. You have a lot more successes, good luck, and opportunities come to you as well. So he's going to continue to grow in his success and in his career. I don't know what exactly he'll be doing, what he plans on doing, how he plans on expanding his career, because he already has done makeup for celebrities. He's done brand collaborations and major brand deals and stuff. So who knows, who knows what we will see from him, but we will definitely keep seeing some big things come from Patrick Starr that are very entertaining and beautiful and everything over the next couple of years. Jupiter is going to enter the sign of Sagittarius at the end of 2018, like November 2018. And will be there until I think like November or December of 2019. So he will have all this time to have some really great, some great opportunities. And also Jupiter, once it moves into Capricorn, this is the money sign for him. So, maybe he'll come out with some more products or something. Maybe he'll come out with his own line or merchandise, because the second house can rule merchandise and products, physical things that we like to buy, so maybe he'll come out with like a line or something like that, or maybe he may just make like buku bucks and just kind of chill for a little bit and enjoy the fruits of his labor, so we'll see what happens. What else is in store for him? Well, Saturn is here too. He's in his Saturn return. Whew, Saturn return is a whole other video. Okay, let me tell you, it's a whole other thing. The Saturn return for a lot of people can be a difficult time, but for some people they can work that Saturn. Literally, Saturn is a planet of hard work. So if you tap into that part of it to where you're willing to work very hard and sacrifice, then that's when Saturn rewards. You know, that's when the drill sergeant offers you some kind of a medal for going through boot camp or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So he's in his Saturn return. That's going to be going on through December of 2020. For some people, it's difficult. You know, some people, especially when it's in the sign that rules your finances, it could be a time where you have more of a financial tie down. Like you have something big that you are trying to invest in, and therefore you have to kind of, you know, restrict yourself with like being too extravagant with your money. Or it can be a time when you work even harder to accumulate more money or more material wealth, and you build something. Saturn is a planet of building, of structure, you know, so he could be building something over the next 2 years that is going to you know, come out with more material things and be like more sustainable, have more sustainable income, like for the long term. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let me get out of this man's money. What else is to come for Patrick Starr? Of course, you know, even with looking astrologically at his life, we can't always predict everything. We don't know in detail for sure everything. I sure don't. I'm not exactly a psychic. I do have intuitive abilities. Sometimes I can see things. Sometimes it comes and goes. You know what I'm saying? But this is very technical and mathematic, and that's what I look at. And you know, I just hope that whatever he decides to do, he can continue to inspire. He can continue to grow and bring some really dope things to all of us and enjoy himself. You know. That's the most important thing, is if you have a career, if you actually enjoy it. But yeah, that is it, you guys. I am going to cut this off right there. I don't even know how long this is. I'm not even looking at a clock. I am just talking away. But thank you guys for watching. And if you have any questions, you know, or if you want to add anything, as long as it's not some a-hole comment or something, because that's not what I do these for. It's for people to bring drama and talk a bunch of trash about people. No thanks. But if you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and I will see you guys in my next video. All right, peace.